person who is interested in Avodas Hashem, a basic premise that the person must have. It's an attitude that without that, we are lost. We are hopelessly lost. And it's a very delicate attitude. It's very delicate. You have to understand, you're not children, you're mature people, that in the higher echelons of Avodas Hashem, you have to use more delicate instruments. Very sharp, very fine, and very delicate instruments. And only a mature person can be trusted and is able to use these instruments. It's a long summer, and we have time to think. So we can chat about Avodas Hashem today. And I want to talk about one aspect. To me, I feel that what we're going to talk about is the key to everything. This hashkafa, this attitude, if you don't have this, and you build and you learn and you acquire knowledge, facts, insights, if you don't have this, you're building, how do they say, a castle out of cards. And this last little wind will topple over and everything will totter and disappear. You have to listen closely. One of the problems here is that to many of you this will seem like it's obvious, it's axiomatic. And serious people will think about their lives and their existence and what they are here for in this world, and what's the purpose, what's the goal, what do you have to do. See, if you don't have this, you have nothing. The Mesilas Yesharim, which is a phenomenal sefer, and in parentheses I must caution you, you cannot have intimate contact with this sefer through the English translation. You cannot. Every translation loses something, and here if you lose the contact with the precision, the simplicity, with the incisiveness of the Lashon Kodesh, you're losing 3/4 of the same. But the Mesilas Yesharim is a phenomenal sefer. It's a classical sefer. It's known to you that the Vilna Gaon said that had he lived in the times of the Moshe Chaim Luzzatto, the author of the Mesilas Yesharim, so he would walk from Vilna by foot to Italy just to come and see him and learn by him. In Perek Beis of the Mesilas Yesharim, he starts off explaining the very first category of his ladder. He speaks about Zahirut, a person being careful with his life. He says, Hine inyan ha-Zahirut. He says, what is this subject, Zahirut? What is it? Who it is? Sheyeh ha'adam nizhar b'masov u'be'inyonos. Again I repeat, Hu sheyeh ha'adam nizhar, that a person should be careful. B'masov u'be'inyonos. These are two divergent, distinct roads that a person travels upon them simultaneously. Masov are a person's deeds, every single individual unrelated act. A person goes through so many actions in a day. Those are called masa. In Yonov is already, in Yonov is something more subtle. We'll have to discuss this soon. In Yonov means attitudes, life attitudes, lifestyle. In Yonov are more comprehensive. In Yonov is not of necessity related to any deed. A person can be lying down on a couch sipping a nice drink, and he is steeped in Yonov, what he's thinking, how he looks at the world, his understanding of life, his understanding of himself, of herself. In Yonov is the very subtle and very important area here. Again, I'm going to repeat the lines again. Hine inyan ha-zehirus hu, the subject of zehirus is sheyir ha'adam nizhar b'masav hu be'inyanos. A person who is authentically interested in his life has to be careful of his deeds, masav hu be'inyanos, of his inyanim, his lifestyle, his attitudes. Kluma. What do I mean you have to be careful? What do I mean you have to be careful? This boning, a person has to think, umifakeach. A person has to think and be alert and scrutinize. Mizbonein umifakeach al masa udrach. Here again he says a person has to think, mizbonein umifakeach, and consider and scrutinize his deeds and his attitudes. Hatovim hein imloy. Anay masim and drachim hatovim hein imloy. Are they positive or negative? Levilti azov nafshe. And a person must think and scrutinize his ways in order not to abandon his neshama, to the danger of losing himself in this world. Again, you must think and scrutinize in order not to abandon yourself, to lose yourself in this world. That's one thing. The lo yelech, and he shall not go and travel through life, the mahalach hergeloi, with the movement of habit, either a fellow like a blind man in the dark. Now, this is all we're going to learn. Again, I want to read over these few lines. Hine inyan ha-zehirus hu, sheyiyeh ha-adam nizhar b'ma'asav u'b'inyono, klomel mizbonein u'mifakeach al ma'asav u'drachav ha'toidim heimen loi, levilti azoiv nafshay l'sakonis ha'avada chas v'chalila, v'lo yelech b'mahalach hergeloi k'tida b'afei. Look, I cannot control myself. Not when I speak to you, I speak to the boys, I speak to anybody. If we are not just making chit-chat conversation, if we talk serious conversation, I cannot control myself. I can't. What do I need to say? I'm excusing myself. I might sound dramatic to you, but I plead with you, I'm in no way dramatic. I tell you what I feel, what I understand. What you hear from me is a response to the things that act upon my life, to what I tell you I believe. And this is not Musa. I'm not coming here to teach you ethics and morals. I'm responding to a dynamic situation. This is what I'm telling you about. which increasingly becomes clearer and clearer, a process, as if a hand came out of the sky and you would see a huge hand dealing with something. That's how obvious is what I'm telling you, and I'm going to show you something. Around 1914, when the Russian Revolution began, beginnings 1918, overnight, I believe it was in October Revolution, overnight, 3-4 million Jews disappeared. Like a ship that goes down in the ocean. What kind of Jews? A country where for hundreds of years the greatest genius with the greatest human forces possible was sculpturing and shaping a sheer kramer of a person, a Tzuris Adam, that was called Russian Jewry, which had such vitality, such beauty, such madrigas. We are ignorant, we know nothing. We don't have the time to study Russian Jewry. It's a life study. In the state where my family comes from, in the capital city, Vitebsk, there were 100 shuls. 100 shuls in the city of Vitebsk. And overnight everything was gone. The tree stood, the leaves were yet green, but the roots were cut. It was dead. 1 million Jews disappeared. In 1939, another 6 million Jews disappeared. The end of Jewry in Europe, the end of the history of Jewry, 1,000 years of Jews in Europe, maybe more. Didn't take. Disappeared. If you say 6 million people disappeared, 10 million people disappeared in 30, 40 years, it's a tragedy. When you try to evaluate what went with them, what kind of world disappeared, I don't believe that there's a human mind that can grasp the contours, not the details, of what happened. Russia, Poland, Lithuania, Romania, Hungary, Germany, Yugoslavia, Bulgaria, Greece. Do you know that until 1914, the harbor in Salonika was closed on Shabbos? The harbor. Because the harbor was controlled by Jews, and all the Jews were religious. A ship couldn't dock on Shabbos before in 1914 in Greece, in Salonika. Everything disappeared. We'll not go into the tragic details of how it disappeared. The United States, whoever knows the history, let's say from 1890 to 1900 of the Jewry in the United States, it was one process of darkness. You hear? There were Jews that came were fantastic scholars, men and women. This is old studies. You can't know this in 5 minutes, in 10 minutes, in an hour. There are Jews that came to the United States. There were synagogues and shuls in the thousands of synagogues. And you could say in the hundreds of millions of dollars across the United States and Canada and South America. We're talking only about the United States and Canada. With the rabbis, fantastic Talmidei Chachamim scholars that lived in a test tube, and no one, and the smallest, no one, the overwhelming majority of the people, you could say 98% of the people, no one thought about their children. Can you imagine such a thing? Can you imagine that Jews came from Russia, religious Jews, and then the Jews that weren't religious? The Jews that weren't religious were more religious in spirit, had more feeling for Yiddishkeit than 80% of the clergy today, the Jewish clergy. They knew more what a shul should look like than 80% of the rabbis. And there was a process of attrition. No one was concerned about chinuch. No one was concerned about teaching boys and girls. Look at that. That's certain. I remember when they made the Beis Yaakov in Williamsburg, the first Beis Yaakov, rabbis were laughing. Intelligent rabbis were laughing. And I stood back, and I used to say to myself, there's something insane about all this. How can people have a future without chinuch? With 6 million Jews in America, sure. How many yeshivas were there? You know that there are minutes of a meeting of the Union of Orthodox Rabbis. There was one yeshiva in America, and the father of a friend of mine wanted to open up another yeshiva in New Haven, Connecticut, and he eventually did. So he got up at a convention, and he said that he's opening up a new yeshiva. And a very prominent Jewish leader, a rabbi, got up and said to him, what does America need another yeshiva for? What does America need another yeshiva for? There are enough yeshivas in America. There's one yeshiva. What do you need 2 yeshivas in America for? Can you imagine such a thing? Inexplicable. Something after that period. Now, where are we today? I want you to know. Today, people say that there are 6 million Jews in America, 6.5 million Jews. That's a lie. I don't know if there are 3 million Jews in America. Perhaps the other 3.5 million Jews. They disappeared. I was in Chicago, and they always used to count that in Chicago there were 500,000 Jews. And now the Jewish Federation say there are only 250,000 Jews. So a young man in Chicago, an intelligent young man, told me, he went to the Federation, spoke to the Vice President. They keep on projecting this figure of 250,000. So they keep on asking, he says, what happened to the other 250,000 Jews? Chicago always had 500,000 Jews. He says, it's true. There are still 500,000 Jews in Chicago, but 250,000 Jews are not associated with any type of synagogue, not a Reform synagogue. And they refuse to be identified as Jews. They live in the vast suburbs and nothing. They change their names, or they have their names, and they do not stand up and say, I'm a Jew, I'm nothing. And this is in the whole country. I have to tell you what's going on with intermarriage. And any person who has the slightest modicum of communal intelligence understands that not in a question of 10 years from today. In 5 years from today, 5 years, in 5 years from today, 3.5 million Jews in this country are going to disappear from yesterday. And worse. So, the picture looks a little bleak. Not a little bleak, it looks a lot bleak. European Jewry has been dissolved. There's no such a thing. Yeah, the Jews in Europe, you're there. The Pope will be the force. The creative force of European Jewry is not here. North African Jewry is not here anymore. In the Middle Eastern Jewry in the Arabian countries are not there anymore. And I want to tell you about Israel. To hear what I'm telling you. Israel has the same problem. A Sabra Israeli is assimilated as much as a kid in Ashtabula, Ohio, except he speaks Hebrew. If here you can turn on at night WEBD and listen to a Hebrew-speaking program, and they advertise a nightclub called Shalom, hours in Hebrew. And they gleefully advertise that the menu has crabs and shrimp, and invite everyone to eat crabs and shrimp in an Israeli fashion. You don't have to be a genius. You don't have to be Professor Toynbee to know that these people are assimilated, that this has nothing to do with Jewry. And these are not two isolated people. The irreligious Israeli youth is drifting. I spoke to them. I spoke to people who are going into the army, and they told me clearly, in no uncertain terms, it does not bother them in the least if they marry Gentile girls. They like them to marry, and they're doing it. There was a statistic in the University of California a few years ago, 100 Israeli boys and girls came to learn. 50% of them intermarrying remain here. What am I telling you? I came to depress you today. I didn't come to depress you. All this is to tell you, and to caution you, and to awaken to you, who we are, and where we are, and what we have to do. Here, I'm going to repeat to you a story. Maybe I told it to you once. In 1941, I believe, there was a blitzkrieg in England. You wouldn't know what the blitzkrieg was. You weren't around then, most of you. I was a young boy, saw it in the movie called News, and I heard it on the radio, and I read about it in the press, and I used to listen to Churchill's speeches. England was being bombed, and the fate of England hung on a hair. They were not sure that they were going to be victorious. The Germans in Marsh and Mum were coming night after night. They were bombing England. They weren't sure. It didn't look too good. Churchill sent out a directive to the Royal British Navy, the captains of the ships, to all the colonies. They were still then a British Empire all over the world, the dominions. And they all received the same orders. That should England fall, so everybody has to know wherever they are England. They are the British government. If you're on a ship in the Pacific, the captain of the ship becomes the premier, and you are the British government there on a ship. If you're on an island in the Pacific, and you're there, and England falls, there becomes the British government. And that's what I want to talk to you about. Things are happening in the Jewish world with a tremendous rapidity. You know what I'm telling you? Little things, big things that are subtle. Big things that are so subtle that you don't even know it's it's negative, it's against Yiddishkeit. Things are happening so rapidly. And the majority of Jewish leaders, unfortunately, are deaf, dumb, and blind and don't see what happens. You'll open up a New York Times and you'll see a full-page ad for the Federation of Jewish Charities. Goes for a hospital. Hospital's not important. 80% of their hospitals cater to the Negroes. Jewish money, 80% of their hospitals go cater to the Negro population. I have nothing against that. There are also people, there are also human beings. But don't come and tell me that you're working for Jews. None of the big yeshivas in New York City, the yeshivas that are 60 years old and 50 years old, are given any substantial aid for Jewish education. Yeah? They'll show you a list of what they do. They'll throw up a smoke cloud. They'll show you what they do for a yeshiva. Not the yeshiva, not the seminary gets 1 penny from them. They're not interested. They're not interested. They don't mean us. Not Torah Das, not Chaim Berlin, not Satna, not Lakewood, not Cleveland. Good. Those that know a little bit that there were people, young people in Boston. There was 2 years ago, 3 years ago, it was in Time magazine. There was a convention of the leaders of the Jewish Federation from the 99 states. They broke in and they made a demonstration screaming that they don't support Jewish education. We have to know that today, whoever is sensitive in his Yiddishkeit or in her Yiddishkeit has to know that we are precious individuals. We are precious individuals. Ashreinu u'matoy chelkeinu u'manoyin goyreleinu u'mayopa Yerushaseinu, that we are zoicher to be the few whom the whole Messiah, the whole heritage of historical Judaism is about. We are not slaves. The Haggadah that we used this Pesach, the text is identical with the Haggadah that they used in 1440 and in 1100 and in 900. They are existing texts. It's the same Haggadah. But the Reform movement has no compulsions. 2 years ago, before Pesach, they came out with their great PR machine in their millions of dollars and paid the New York Times. They came out, oh goody, They're coming back. 50 years ago, they struck out of the Haggadah everything about Eretz Yisrael, anything about Korbanos, anything about Nisim. The Reform Jews believe in miracles. They ripped out of the Haggadah anything that was Jewish. It was a meaningless, independent flavor. So 2 years ago, in the New York Times, they're not ashamed to besmirch their own intelligence. They're not ashamed. So they put in the New York Times, big half a page, the Reform now placed back into the Haggadah about a few miracles and about Eretz Yisrael. So for 50 years, what was the Haggadah that you gave the palaver, you gave you cast away thousands and hundreds and thousands of Jews. Today you changed it back. I could show you. I don't collect it, but whatever I tell you happens. You understand? So they play around. We don't play around. The Haggadah we use paper is the identical Haggadah that they used 1,000 years ago. Because we have Haggadahs that are older, or 800 years. Today, things for Klal Yisrael and for Torah, there's no such thing as an individual. We have to think in terms of Klal Yisrael. You don't have to be a Rosh Yeshiva. You don't have to be a head of a seminary. You don't have to be a teacher. Whoever has emunah, whoever has faith, whoever has feelings of this communal responsibility, communal responsibility has to know that their Yiddishkeit is a candle in a dark, dark, dark room. And it's very powerful. You have to know it's very, very powerful. Every prat and prat, every detail of the Yiddishkeit to make a bracha. Bench. I want you to know I have a collection of experiences of people who had the earnestness and took out the time to bench from a bencher. I spoke to a young man who was a millionaire in a big, big company. And one of the young men from the yeshiva works there. And this young man is particular to bench from a little bencher when he benches. The head of the company told me, he said, the way he says grace after the meal has inspired me to seek education in Yiddishkeit, in Judaism. That fellow doesn't even know the other guy's looking at it. Everything we do today is a candle, is a light, and that candle must be guarded. And we'll talk about how it's to be guarded. It isn't that you're not going to a school, you're not going to a seminary, we are engaged in a milchama. We are engaged in a war. I want you to know, I see this every single day. Every single day. You have to know to whoever you speak, whoever is watching you, whoever you come by, you are teaching. It's true in all times, but today, in the darkness that permeates the Jewish world, today you have to know that you are responsible. You are responsible. And you are influential. You are influential. You see, there's a Yetzer Hara, there are all kinds of weaknesses in a person. Me, I'm so private, I'm not, that's not my thing, that's not my thing. All kind of sick kind of things. That's not true. You're too young to understand how things work. You are a powerful group of people here. A very influential group of people. I'm not saying that you should go in the street corners and stand and grab people. That's not for us. But I'm telling you, in the course of your daily life, you command fantastic influence. And the computation of how influential you are depends upon these few lines. Let me explain it. The world, this whole physical world, the whole cosmos, the whole physical world has one outstanding, preeminent feature. Change. Change. Every tick of the clock we get older, and we get nearer to death. A baby's born. Already died. There is nothing in this world that's stationary. There's nothing that's stationary. You see this table? You lean on the table. What do they do? You can't even measure it. You're rubbing out the table. You're changing its structure. You can't see it now, but if you come in 50 years, the people living it is going to be a hole there. And if there's a hole there, it means that every time someone touched it, it changed. Whoever understands chemistry, biology, physics, understands that the world is in constant flux. The world is in constant change. A person can feel, I went through a year of seminary, I learned so many things, I have so many insights. I have so much to integrate and digest. You cannot sit on your laurels for 1 second. You have no insurance policy that you will go home and you'll meet a group of people and say, cut it out. Me, ma. And everything you dreamt of, and everything you strived for, and everything you yearned and prayed and hoped for can disappear in 1 hour. So how does a person protect himself? And this doesn't apply to you, to me. You could be 119 years old, but there's a danger, because the world is in constant flux. Things are constantly changing. There are different permutations, there's different combinations, there are different situations. Things change. A person becomes weak, and the person's vision becomes blurred. So how does a person survive as an authentic Jew? How do you survive as an authentic Jew? How does a person, is there, I have told you a number of times, that there's such a thing as a fountain of youth. There is. And in these few lines, in the Torah, one of the 613 mitzvahs, is Hochayach Tochiach et Amisecha v'lo yisita halachet, which means Hochayach Tochiach et Amisecha. It means if you see someone doing something wrong, just like it's a mitzvah to wash Shabbos Friday night and eat a sukkah. It's a mitzvah to sit in a sukkah. It's a mitzvah if you see someone doing something wrong, and it's on the surface there that you could tell that other person something, and that person can learn from this. You are commanded, go over to that other person in a nice way and sit down and say, you know, you're making a mistake. It's dangerous what you're doing. It's foolish what you're doing. And to the best of your ability, you are commanded to try and help. You have a responsibility to another person to reprimand them and to open up the truth to them. But that's not the end of the mitzvah. You are commanded to reprimand yourself. And that's much more difficult than reprimanding another person. The key, the golden precious key here, there's a golden precious key to being young. You know what that is? For a person having the ability to sit down for 10 minutes alone without any book, without anything, and to close your eyes, and for a person to honestly, humbly look at yourself and ask, Ayeko, where am I? What am I doing? Is it right or is it wrong? Not for a minute, and you'll see how hard it is. Today, meditation, teleportation, validation, thinking, stop, and the whole world is burning, and the whole society is decaying. The Mesilas Yesharim says, you look in between these 3 lines and Peretz Beis, you'll see here the keys to being young, to being authentic, to being a growing, creative person, to having substance, to being meaningful, is a person is constantly changing. A person has to have the ability to sit down and look at themselves and question themselves and search into themselves and to ask themselves courageous questions about every aspect of their existence. Is it right? Is it wrong? Is it Yiddishkeit? Is it Emunah? Is it Bitachon? Am I being small and living in the immediate second without thinking of the future, without thinking of the goal, without thinking of what I could be and what I should be? There's no other way. Because you're not going to be in a seminary your whole life. You're not going to be... A person has to take himself and herself and has to put down a principle in their lives. I must reprimand myself. I must investigate my life. Little thing.
A man came to visit me, a big scholar. This Tom Tucker. He came with his little boy. I told you once, and I'll repeat the story, because you have to be a keen observer in life. And there was something laying on my desk. And the little boy, being that I don't know, tall fellow, I don't know exactly, tall and slim. The little boy was overwrought, he's afraid of me, He put on something, I don't know. The boy's about 7 years old, 8 years old. So there was something on the desk. It came up, the father told the boy to read something. So there was in English, and the boy read it as mistake. He said to the boy in front of me, that's why you don't know how to read, because you never concentrate. The boy turned all colors. The boy buried himself in the ground. If it would have happened in front of his father, he would have also done it. That's not the way to speak to a child. But in front of me, he told him, in front of me, the boy was crushed. He picked up, the boy was crushed. I didn't say anything. A few days later, I met this young man again. I told him, you are a fool, and you're a Rotzeach, you're a murderer, and you're killing the kids again. Maybe what he talked about. He didn't even pay attention to it. He's a good person. That's how you speak to a boy in front of a stranger. You see that the child generally was under pressure. That's how you speak to a child. That's how you embarrass and you embarrass that child. And he was shocked. He was shocked. He's not a person who didn't want to hear. This person who is a big scholar never viewed himself. He never looked at himself. He never asked himself in those 10 minutes that he's digging, making a cheshbon and everything else, do I speak properly to my children? If he would ask himself the question and he would think into it and review a situation and say, I didn't do it. There's something wrong in how I speak to it. A man came to me, Rav Shlomo, a whole involved question. And he's a person in his house, whom he took into his house, who he gives food, shelter, and clothing. And this man has a small apartment, but this other person needs his house. He says, I see you for a few weeks. My wife gives me something to eat. She never says thank you. She never says it's tasty, delicious. She says something. And the person's working for you. He was very disturbed. I explained to him. This person's telling me, I explained to him. I took him on the side and I told him, how do you do such a thing? And this person, this boy is brilliant. He's brilliant. Going into medical school. The boy said, the boy said to him, in our house we never did it. I don't know. I never learned that language. He took him and he taught him. He explained to him there are people, our home is not a place with technology with buttons that you press buttons and a supper comes out or a table moves out. There are people involved. People are working. We're human beings. I told him, I actually told that person, he told me I was once in Switzerland and I was staying in a hotel. So a Jew with a beard told me, he said to me, here you have to be very careful. He thought I didn't know French. That much French I knew. He said to me that whenever the waiter or the waitress place something on the table, it'd be 20-course meal. Whatever they come up, they're going to say merci. And you must say, s'il vous plaît, something please. I asked him, why? His ears. They're very French. If you don't, boy said he never learned that language. He never learned that language. In all innocence, the boy, in all innocence, he knew when his mother, his father, they never told him anything. They never told him that there's a relationship with people, that it's so subtle, it's so thin. So can you imagine? This person could live for 120 years and never say thank you to his wife. His children will never say thank you, never say please. If you'll ask me, what is it talking about? Etiquette? No! It's not the external nicety of saying thank you and please. It's the whole internal view on people, in the whole dynamics of our family. A wife kills herself, she makes a supper, gets up, walks away from the table. It's not, he's not even bad, but he's missing that whole language, that whole concept, that she's a cripple. But if he's not to be mochiach himself, Okay? Person is going to be here soon. There'll be an air of you. Carry, why not? Oh, it's easier. I'll carry it. It's easier. I'll do it. Maybe yes, maybe not. I'm not going into it. I'm just using the thing to be conceived. What are you rushing? Did you think, what are you looking to make everything easier for yourself? You want to have a Canadian over, you're not going to have it. Maybe it's good for you to be master. Maybe in certain things it's good for you to have a yoke on your head and to carry your burden. Maybe that's good for you. If you're not going to think, you're not going to find out. And you're not going to look into yourself and be honest and be mizbeinen and mefakech al matzah d'trocha. If you're not going to do that, you don't see how things are wearing away. In 5 years from today, the foundation, the foundation that we have to build our Yiddishkeit is this constant introspection, constantly to be moichiach ourselves and ask ourselves leading questions and to demand ourselves and to take 10 minutes out. This is not a luxury. This is a life necessity like the air that we breathe on our toes. You do things for a year's time. You know, I had a nice fellow, bought a house, he came to me. He's married already, has children. He wants to wash negelwas near the bed. Now, he's a very interested kid. So I asked him, I didn't do it. And now he's a thinking fellow. And as a result of thinking and questioning himself and searching into himself, he wants to wash negelwas. And he did that. He asked me, is there a thing that I should do? I said, yes. 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 So, this is the conversation. He wants to do it. It's very heavy. First of all, his wife will look at it, he didn't do it until now. And then, you know, it's a pretty nicely furnished home, water, floor, you know. How that... It corroded around them so in their life that a little thing, a little pircha of taking the water and keeping the water next to the bed is what they call today a whole hassle. A hassle. What is it? You buy yourself there a big bowl, you go into John's bargain store, you can get any bowl you want, and you get over there water. What are you making it? What is it? We're changing our whole lifestyle, and I saw in his head, and you know, and I can understand with him. He didn't understand. We spoke. I said, you see how corroded and how caked the person's rough is to life can come. I'm not speaking to you, why didn't you do it the 5 years that you were married? That's not what I'm talking to you about. You're a fine, wonderful Jew. You didn't do it very wonderful Jew. You watched negelwas anyway. But you want to make a chumrah. You want to do something more. It's more if you wash near the bed. It's so heavy, everything is so corroded. He can't move his hands. You know, it's making a whole new lifestyle. That's because the person is not open to chastising himself and being mochich himself. A person that's constantly thinking, maybe I have to change, maybe I have to do this, and maybe I have to do that, maybe I have to improve myself this. Nothing! If you're in this habit of thinking and of being mizbeinen, and demanding of yourself, and talking to yourself, and I'm going to tell you a phrase that's the key to the whole thing. Mishpat. If you're going to be a shofet on yourself, if you're going to be a judge on yourself, you are going to be the judge on yourself, and you're in that habit. Of course you're afraid, everybody's afraid of taking a step. Everybody's afraid of taking a step. But you won't be old. You won't be corroded and petrified like a piece of a tree that falls down that became already cold. You won't be so petrified. You won't be so bone-like. You'll have flexibility. If I have to do this, I'll do this. I saw in this young man that wasn't the question of the negelwas. The question was, how do you make such a radical step in your life, in your house? It was ludicrous. It's comical. And not only him, his wife. But if you people are into the cheich techir and the mizbeinen and the fakeach al tachem, and a person is mizbeinen, and a person thinks to himself, I have to do this, I have to improve, I have to grow, I have to strive after the truth, and you're constantly thinking to yourself, you can move, you can change. But if you're closed up, you never think, what I'm doing, I'm doing. What I'm doing, I'm doing. No more improvement, I'm perfect already. You become old, you hear? You could be in the middle, you should excuse me, of the coolest thing in the world. How they say to me. You could be the coolest, you hear? You ever see cool old people? I laugh. So ludicrous. It's so silly, so stupid. I see people in the 50s and the 60s trying to get into a pair of tight pants. The man, you know, he's got to imitate the young guys, and here he's grown with these kind of sideburns, that kind of long hair. What are you doing? What are you, a teenager? You're fighting to keep that young image, you fool, you idiot. That's what you have to do. You have to get that the jeans should lay this way and they should lay that way. That's what life is all about, you blockhead. Millions of people. Teure Jews are oisig and cheshbon nefesh. I tell you, girls, you're going away. You have to know, you have to have 10 minutes a day. This is mine, and I'm judging myself in every aspect of my existence. How is my brachas? How is my tefillin? How is my learning? Did I learn something? Am I learning? Am I struggling to learn? If you don't learn, you become old and stupid. This is the key to Avodas Hashem. It's not where you are, it's not who you are, that's where you're going. You can be on top of the ladder, but you're going down. You can be on the bottom of the ladder, you're going up. It's important where you're going. Be young. Look into yourself. Just straighten yourself out. You make mistakes. We are all... A mistake, a failure is part of life. Ain't tzaddik b'oretz asher ya'aseh toiv v'lo yechtav. There isn't a tzaddik in the world that constantly does good and doesn't sin. We are all drenched in failures. That's not important. That's irrelevant. It's subordinate. The main thing is where you're going. What are you doing? You do this. You're holding your hand on the wheel. You're driving. Or you're sitting back and letting life drag you this way, drag you that way. The key is to be shoifet yourself. A person to sit down quietly, alone. Where should I be? What should I be doing? Is there a reason that there not shouldn't be today here in Farak with 100 women? Because I'm speaking. Why shouldn't there be here today 100 women, our women? Well, we're talking about, I'm telling you my thing, we're talking about the very essence of life. Yeah, everybody has an excuse. I'm busy, I'm tired, I'm late last night, this was legitimate excuses. If they themselves would sit and look into it, they'd see. They should know this is the key to our Yiddishkeit. We're being tested. We're thrust into a society that goes against the grain of everything we believe. All over. You think it's easy for me to come to Winnipeg and the lady will sticks a hand out to me. It's hard for me to hurt a woman if I'm not going to hurt you. It's hard to me. It's very hard sometimes, you know. It's hard for me to tell somebody I'm not eating. And I don't eat. I don't go hungry, but my own food. I'm not saying it's not kosher, but you have to think. You gotta know, is it kosher? Isn't it kosher? Where does it come from? Our Yiddishkeit is not something that's guaranteed. Our Yiddishkeit is not something that's guaranteed. The yesod of our Yiddishkeit is his boineness, is judging ourselves. If you get into this habit, you learn this few lines in the Sosi Shara, you have this, you know you have a dynamism, you have it's organic, your neshama is working, you feel your neshama working. And when your neshama is pain, you hear it's pain, oh yeah, I'm not doing it right, and you're in pain, that's birth pain. That's birth pain. That's very healthy pain. Again, I must tell you, you carry a very big responsibility wherever you go. You have to know who you are, what your ideals are, what you believe in, and you know how to move from them, and you have to make sure to strengthen them, and you should know that as dark as everything seems, we know that the Shivim Nefesh Yadav is saying in Mitzrayim, that Klal Yisrael started from 70 people that were in Mitzrayim. And you should know that we're very powerful. And the world is very receptive to Yiddishkeit. Very receptive to Yiddishkeit. But we have to, it has to be organic, it has to be fresh, it has to be be a result of our constant inspection and searching and challenging ourselves. We have to challenge ourselves and ask ourselves, is it right what we're doing constantly? Have a pleasant and resilient